Tonight, a special South Tonight report on an Otago University degree course some regard as the most prestigious in the land. Good evening. Otago and Southland can't expect much in the way of special treatment when it comes to power pricing. That's the message today from Electricorp marketing manager Drew Steen, facing a stormy meeting of local industry leaders today. Michael Lynch reports.
Otago turns out a giant slice of New Zealand's hydropower. But that's not cutting too much ice with Electricorp, the people who now sell that power. Drew Steen, Electricorp marketing manager, faced power supply and industry leaders in the South today, and he wouldn't offer them much in the way of cheaper power for the future. It seems the South's present 22% price differential will disappear as Electricorp presses on with selling at the best rate to the best bidder, and the locals aren't happy.
What he should be doing is making a power price very attractive for all industry in the South, so at least they can start to help offset some of the downturn that they've experienced.
I think that Mr. Steen grossly underestimates the feeling of people in our area about this matter, because this electricity is being produced very cheaply in our region. There's limited cost in transmitting it. There's no way that we should contribute, say, to the cost of transmission of power to the North Island.
Well, that, I'm afraid, has to be a government and a social implication. We as a commercial organisation have bought some assets, and we're now operating those assets in the most efficient manner we possibly can.
You're saying electricity is not a social product?
No, electricity is not a social product.
This summer will be a critical one for many of the big new orchard developments in central Otago. After several seasons of heavy development costs, marketing problems and an unfavourable exchange rate, the fruit growers are hoping for a better economic and growing climate over the next few months. Ellen Brady with that story.
The big new stone fruit orchards in central Otago are showpieces in terms of new technology and horticultural techniques. And South Island local body representatives attending their annual conference in Alexandra took time off to visit one of them today. Financial syndicates have poured millions of dollars into developments like this one at summer fruit orchards over the past few years. But the effect of the high New Zealand dollar on exports and difficulties in achieving a unified marketing philosophy have raised questions about the short-term viability of the industry.
I think it would be unfair to say that there are not signs in central Otago, as there is in every other region in the country, toward a number of growers cracking under that pressure, because we're all under it. We're all finding it very difficult in this current economic climate to come through with a return that will balance the books.
Peter Taylor told the local body representatives that if the stone fruit industry is to survive, it must adopt a much more disciplined approach to marketing. But he was optimistic that the 1988-89 season could see it begin to turn the corner in central Otago.
This season is looking quite good at the moment because the economic climate is, as I say, is better. The dollar is better. We are looking at a wider market opportunity than we did a year ago. We're looking at the prospects of being in Japan for the first time this year with nectarines. That will certainly be a trial period for that market, but they're all opportunities that we've been waiting for and that give us more hope.
Proposals to help drought-stricken farmers in North Otago are to be presented to government tomorrow. Federated farmers say their proposals will suggest ways of retaining present farming standards while highlighting the seriousness of the current drought. It's expected the outcome will lead to rural bank suspensory loans and other assistance in the forms of special loans. And the heavy showers that fell in some parts of the region unfortunately failed to reach North Otago. And at 3 o'clock it was fine at Half Moon Bay and 16 degrees. Invercargill rain but 16. Gore overcast and 18. Balgloutha cloudy 18. Dunedin cloudy and 17. Palmerston sunny and 18. And Oamaru partly cloudy and 17. Koorau sunny and the high today of 23. Ranfurly 17. Queenstown cloudy, the low of 13, sharing that with Wanaka where it was also cloudy and 13. Alexandra cloudy 21 and Tayana cloudy and 14. And for tomorrow, Dunedin 15 degrees and Invercargill 15 degrees. Later this week, some nervous students from around the country will be sitting an exam. Most of them will be in their 30s and 40s, and the last exams they sat could have been 20 years ago. Some will be on salaries of $100,000 or more a year, and if they pass the exam, they'll earn nothing for 15 months. But they badly want to pass because it'll get them into the MBA course at Otago University. There, some of them will work up to 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. Jim Mora reports on 28 people who are aiming for a glittering prize and who are prepared to lose a lot to gain it.
When Elspeth Horner practices her Mozart sonata, the whole family hears it. Because the Horner family are living in a very small flat. They've left their large home in Auckland's fashionable suburb of Epsom. They've left their friends behind. They're using tea boxes for furniture. And all for a piece of paper with MBA written on it. It seems odd somehow that the Master of Business Administration course is housed in the old university because it's only been going 10 years. Much older are the grotesques guarding the outside of the building. One doing his sums with a skull alongside to remind the high flyers inside of the mortality of princes and paupers alike. The class of '89. People like Catherine Fair from Auckland, former information manager with Fisher & Paykel. Gail Franco, a Canadian biologist. Chi Kwang Loy, a computer whiz from Singapore. Waikato's Linus Kent, a chartered accountant. Brendan Gray, a former radio journalist. A disparate bunch brought together so they can graduate from New Zealand's most prestigious business course. Deborah Baudette's one of the younger MBAs this year, so she doesn't stand out from the other students on campus, except that she's maybe better dressed than most. Deborah's in the travel industry in California.
I chose MBA at Otago because of the uniqueness of the program. It's very small, it's very intimate, it's very specialized.
Have you liked being in Dunedin, for example?
I like Dunedin a lot.
Do you think that big money is the major motivation for most of the students on the course?
No, I don't think so. I think most of us are here to go from our specialized field into a broader area to gain that extra knowledge that we feel we don't have right now.
The course is a pressure cooker. They learn about every aspect of business, none of it from New Zealanders. All their lecturers are foreigners, like American Professor Charles Patty. For some, it's a grim slog, and the light at the end of the tunnel is pretty distant in the first few months, but the future captains of industry do have the odd laugh.
I would be willing to meet with you as early as convenient for you. I don't want to make it too inconvenient for you, so like 5:30 or 6 in the morning. All good MBAs are up by that time, aren't you? Finished jogging and...
The race isn't always to the swift, said Damon Runyon, nor the battle to the strong, but that's the way to bet. A group of lunchtime runners find the grind up to Opaho keeps them in shape for the long haul in the lecture rooms. The basic criterion for gaining admission to the course is a successful business background. That's why the students tend to be older, as old as 52 in one case, and that's probably why the Otago course is said to be the best in the country. The graduates have the right stuff even before they begin. Having a degree helps, but you can get in without one. It's essential, though, that you pass the GMAT, the International Graduate Management Admission Test, a grueling 4 hours of problem solving. Eventually, the 300 to 400 applicants are whittled down to 25 or so.
Oh, we're very careful of who we take because it's a huge risk for somebody to leave a secure job, come to the other end of the country, very publicly be seen to fail. We're very careful to try and avoid that. And because we have several hundred people who want to come, we're able to be fairly choosy.
The MBA was born in the US in 1964. Its graduates and undergraduates see themselves as part of an elite. Not, they're quick to tell you, a snobby sort of elite, but high achievers. Wayne Hart fits the profile. In his late 30s and on the course, fresh from a high-paying job at Marsden Point, Wayne cites several reasons for doing the degree.
But really, I took the course because I was becoming aware that we were in a very dynamic time in the economy and that it was no longer just adequate to live on just your experiences when you were becoming a senior manager.
So partly it was career insurance, if you like.
Yes, that's probably a fair way of putting it.
Wayne and Glynis Hart are better off than some on the course financially. Morris and Jenny Horner, for example, have had to bite the financial bullet. The actual course cost of $3,000 or so isn't a problem.
But in terms of foregone salary, in terms of the costs of moving everything else and leaving the workplace, waiting to get back in, the cost will be in excess of $150,000.
It's a big sacrifice.
It is indeed. It's almost going back to the start of married life again.
Is that hard, to turn back the clock and do that?
Yes.
It is. And for the kids as well. They've been to the cinema twice since we've been here. So, at the end of this, I will be borrowing to finance my course. So if you think you're going out to dinner, you think, well, at the end of the day, I will probably have to borrow to finance that dinner. Am I actually prepared to pay X% for that dinner?
So we don't.
Still, it seems it's all worth it at the end of the day. They do know their stuff, as local businesses have found out. One project was to use a new broom on management and marketing practices at TechPack Plastics.
We invited them in, both on a paying basis and on a free basis, and on both occasions they've done us proud.
Brian Wood is the finance chief for Dunedin City. He has an MBA and says the experience didn't turn him into the ruthless manager prototype.
No, I think it's made me more aware of people management, that people are the means by which you get tasks done, and by treating them correctly, motivating them, it makes my job a lot easier.
So it's made you more of a human being, sort of?
I would think so, yes.
MBA course director Graham Elkin came here from Britain, from a job as head of personnel training for a company that owns more than 100 department stores, including Harrods.
I'd been successful very early and was getting rather bored and couldn't really stand still in an executive career for another 40 years.
So you found all that money and career success wasn't enough?
That's an interesting way to put that. I don't know how I can answer that question without appearing to be very arrogant.
Well, I'm just wondering, what is it that makes you and all these other foreigners come here to teach when you could earn, say, 3 or 4 times as much outside?
Well, we came here because there was a very high penalty from the style of life that we actually had. I was concerned with operations in England and Ireland and Denmark, and was flying every other day and was away most of the time, and I saw very little of my wife and kids, and we came here partly to rebuild our family to some degree, and I know now how much difference it's made because we've had a third child, and I've seen it do all sorts of things I didn't know the others did. So we came here basically because of the high cost of what we were doing before.
The end of an MBA week and the rare chance for a beer in the staff club. In the middle of next year, the class of '89 will face the real world once again. Perhaps one day the MBA bubble will burst and some other degree will be in fashion. But for now, these graduates are the flavour of the month. And on that last day of term, when all the work's been done, the flavour of the beer will be very sweet indeed.
Jim Moore with this year's MBA class. Tonight's Twilight phone at 10:30 on 2 deals with the subject of AIDS. The lines are open now for you to speak with the guest and AIDS Clinic Coordinator Dave Verrill. If you'd like to talk to them, 778888. We'll be back tomorrow night. Good night.